Okay. Pavan, can I hear you now?
I can hear you.
Yeah, there he is. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Very good. Well, Sako said that he's going to join as well. So we're going to, he'll be here in a minute. And I believe Pavan did Yogi, did he start full time now? Is he back at it?
I don't have any idea on that.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think near as I can tell, he did, but he certainly contributed to the docs this week, so that was nice.
Yeah, yesterday I think he's working on dogs. He was like asking few of the post number, I think, yeah, I mean, like I had a call with him yesterday. He was working on dogs. That's what, yeah.
Nice. All right. Yeah, they're looking pretty good too. Putting the URL into the meeting minutes. So as soon as Sako joins, we'll get rocking and rolling. In the meantime, if you want, feel free to capture your attendance in the meeting minutes. Here's the link to the meeting minutes. But wouldn't it be nice if we had this nice, memorable, short URL to the meeting minutes? Something like meshery.dev/minutes. Seems like we could make that happen.
That's very possible. We sure can make it.
Yeah.
And we can collect some analytics from that as well. We are doing it ourselves.
Yeah. Looks like Haim, or no, that's Sako. Okay. Sako's inbound. Yep, he's clicking on the. There he is.
Hey guys.
Yeah, Sako. Hey. I feel like it's been a while since we've spoken.
Yeah, that's nice to meet you.
Yeah. Well, you guys, I don't know if you guys know, but Sako saved my bacon, got me over to the airport in time yesterday.
Oh, yeah, it was fine. The check-in time was good.
Yeah, no, I was a bit nervous right at the end there. Yeah, but I made it with just at the right time. I mean, it was. Yeah, I ended up running into a couple of other Austinites that were on their way back from DockerCon. Actually, one that Garish might know. He was Steve Hunt. He was he's ex SolarWinds now, and he's been trying to do containery things for a while. So he's at a different company. So good. So. We've got some general updates, and then kind of nice that it's just the two of you guys today, because we've got some specific stuff to meaty stuff to dig into. I posted the link to the meeting minutes in the chat, so Sako, feel free to record your attendance.
Sure.
Some general updates, a couple of exciting things. I think all of you, some of you are particularly understand the fact that yesterday we hosted a 2-hour a 2-hour session at DockerCon 2019 at the Open Source Summit there, and ended up introducing Meshery to quite a few folks. I put a link to the slides in the meeting minutes. Here they are right here. I think the thing that's interesting to look at is just a couple of slides, one of which is the slide that talks about each of you here. So we've got Sako in there, we've got some OpenGov, we've got Pavan in there, he's been there a while. Some AT&T, so that's good. But what we ended up being able to finally share with folks was a couple of results from your efforts outside of just the tool Meshery itself, but some of the performance test results. So what we told the audience was that describe the project to them and what we're looking to accomplish, and that there are Meshery's capable of doing performance tests against just applications running on Kubernetes with no mesh. Technically, Meshery is capable of doing that to any HTTP endpoint, so it doesn't have to be Kubernetes, but we're focused in this world. So It has an Istio adapter and Linkerd adapter, so we demonstrated those on stage, showed some results from tests, and the fact that by default Kubernetes is slower. No mesh is actually slower than having Istio or than having a mesh, which Garish, mental note as we go into KubeCon, we're going to want to make sure that we blow that up a bit, because I think that's
Whoa. We have a certified Kubernetes administrator on the call, so you have to be really careful when you actually make those statements.
Pavan, maybe we should check in with you here on this.
Girish, I'm still laughing.
Nice. And
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, cool.
I actually I didn't realize I wasn't sharing the window here. So so here's the the link to the slides is in the meeting minutes. This particular slide says we want to do a side-by-side performance test. I did reach out to the AppMesh folks again yesterday morning to let them know that thus far they're excluded or not. They're not on the committed roadmap. Just because they're not being they're not signing up, so hopefully they do. We then shared some results. So the first of which is about understanding that there's overhead for CPU time slicing. That any CPU that you have in today's CPUs typically have more than one core. In the environment that Pratik was using, the single node environment, it has 8 cores, and so we wanted to see what the context switching, the time slicing overhead is when you're running performance tests, when you're generating load at a concurrency at a thread rate higher than the number of cores. So to measure the overhead, we did a baseline of, in that environment, with 8 cores, we did 8 threads, saw how quickly it responded, baseline that at a count of 1, in terms of speed, latency of response, and then doubled it to 16 threads, 32, and just jumped to 100. And this is a test that is applicable outside of meshes as well as on meshes. But what we did, we're benchmarking each mesh against itself, saying, hey, Istio, when you're under this configuration 2, which is encryption on and tracing off, what's that overhead for the higher number of concurrent sessions beyond the number of cores that you're running on? And we did the same thing for Linkerd, and it's interesting to understand that they more or less perform about the same, but that there certainly is cost to context switching. Does that make sense to you guys? Is that insightful, or do you think it's not worth speaking to in the future? Is that not service mesh specific enough? I think the takeaway here is, even though it isn't necessarily service mesh specific, the takeaway is that service meshes are affected by this as well, and they're affected in a linear fashion, much as I think you would expect Apache or Nginx or other HTTP serving endpoints would be, because this is really about the CPU of the system. So not a showdown, but a slowdown. The second diagram that we showed for that was adding, it's the same test, but it was adding another Istio configuration. So configuration 1, in this case configuration 1 means both encryption are on and tracing is on. And this demonstrates that what you can't see here is the Istio number 2. That line is actually so close to the Linkerd green line that they're basically the same as you had seen up above. They're very, very close to one another. But now when we add an additional configuration for Istio, we see that there's a decent cost to telemetry, to the sampling. In this case, the configuration is to have 100% distributed tracing sampling. So there's a cost there. Okay. Then we explain that this is how tracing and telemetry are collected, and so telemetry costs things within Istio. And then we go through the other tests that were performed. There was tests run to discern whether or not there's large packet sizes or large transfers, either at 10 megabytes or 10 kilobytes or just 10 bytes, if there was a difference between these responses. And more or less what you're saying is for the larger binary packet transfers, that it's pretty tight grouping in terms of behavior. But for the smaller, the very, very, very small packet sizes, that when you're using encryption, which are these two middle tests, since most of the responses come back so fast in less than a quarter of a second, or less than 0.05 of a second, that the initial setup of encryption as a tail latency, that initial encryption setup can take a little bit of time initially, but after that, traffic is latency is pretty typical. Those are the results that we shared. So the link's in there. You guys can take a look through the rest of the slides. I just figured it was such a well attended event that it was worth going through all of the work that had been done. So much appreciation to Pratik and Sako for really putting in some hours on that. There were, I'm not sure, probably a couple hundred people in the session. And so thank you, Girish, as well, for knocking out a few items on Meshery itself. We did do a demonstration of Meshery. Very well received. People understand why it's there, and it's very much a need that everyone has. So, any questions on DockerCon? That session?
Yeah, I can also just thank you guys and team that going into more inside of the test and stuff, that I also saw the value that as performance-wise that we can use. So after meeting you also, I was passing by and saw the guys in the office, and I was also briefly talked to my supervisor. So I guess I will have more product talk on Monday and then see that it will be nice. We start doing some testing as a POC in AWS and then using Meshery.
Did he respond? I mean, did the team respond pretty well? But sounds like they're interested.
Yeah, definitely they're interested for the Istio, and the thing is, I will need to do some kind of convincing the testing and show the value that they're gonna be. So, but definitely we'll give a try starting from Monday.
Okay. Yeah. So to recap, they weren't necessarily saying it's time for us to go run a mesh as much as they were saying it's an appropriate time for us to go learn about the performance characteristics of a mesh, learn about the functional characteristics of a mesh.
Yeah.
And do it. Okay. Yeah, that's great.
Exactly, because we have now this ingress, all this running in EKS. So what I will need to do, like this in simple application case, bring how it's running with today, and then adding Istio and showing the difference in the results. That could be the point to go to Istio faster.
Awesome. Okay. Next topic was just the Meshery docs. Girish, do you want to talk about that, or should I just bring up the site so people can see? I'll pull it up here.
Absolutely.
All right.
This will be a quick one. Unfortunately, I don't have too much to show this week. I mean, some sensible things to show this week, because most of the changes were actually in the background, except for one where the the Istio's MTLS deployment now is actually added as part of Meshery, which is what the team leveraged. And I really hope it helped them to actually get quickly down to testing. Now the thing I want to show is that alongside the other stuff, I try to actually work on the Meshery docs. So if you guys are seeing my screen, I really hope this is coming through well.
It is.
I'm sorry, what was it, guys?
It is.
Awesome. Great. So what we have here is actually kind of, I would say, an initial version, definitely with a little bit more styling improvements. Definitely there's much more to actually do. Mainly the contents. What we have here is actually just the structure. We are still filling in the contents. And the point here is actually that I would welcome everybody who has used Meshery and everybody on the call here to actually contribute, because all your inputs will actually make this document much more valuable. Plus, rather than for example one person writing the document, I think it'll also be good for everybody to actually collaboratively write the documents. So that'll be very helpful. So you can see we have some structure. Some parts are actually filled up, but there's definitely much more to write and correct, because probably not all the information here are very precise. So if we can collaboratively work, I think we can actually make this much more precise. And as we progress with the features, I think we should probably keep this up to date, and that'll be very valuable for all the people who are using Meshery, who are interested in using Meshery, and so on and so forth. Now this is a Jekyll site. If you guys want to know about the technology, this is based off of Jekyll. Jekyll is a static site generator, and the source code for this this doc site is actually part of the Meshery repo inside the docs folder. Please feel free to take a look at it. It should be very easy to actually start off with. All these are actually in the background. They're all markdown files. So people who have used Markdown should find it very comfortable. People who have not used Markdown, it should be very easy for you guys to actually pick it up. It's not like writing HTML, but if you really wanted to, you still can write HTML. That's kind of the advantage of using Jekyll, because it has the right plugins for taking care of it. The other nice thing is it also has a site-wide search. So if we actually want to search for a particular word, you can actually start typing, and it'll give you suggestions. And you can click on them, and it'll take you right there to the doc, which contains that. So these are some nice things. Of course, everything is actually. There is no backend system for the search. When the site is being built from the Markdown files, it actually generates the index and keeps them. So that way, the whole thing is done pretty well. So that's pretty much what I had to present to you guys. Again, it's not just the contents. Please feel free to actually keep your comments coming. If you don't like something, if you like something, please feel free to comment in our channel, and also feel free to open PRs with suggestions and bug fixes, updates, etc. Pretty much the same thing for Meshery. So that's pretty much what I have to show for you guys today.
So actually, Sako and Pavan. There is
Lee, you're talking on mute.
Oh. Yeah. Sako and Pavan, there is something of a call to action there. Pavan, have you deployed Meshery yet? Have you tried running it? I know you. And Pavan, you're on mute just in case. I know you've been already working on DevOps infrastructure.
To be honest, no, I didn't install the Meshery yet.
No, that's perfect. Actually, it's perfect because it's your first time experience that can really help influence those docs.
Yeah, definitely. Let me install it, and then I'll give my input from that. So do I need to install in AWS, GCP, or bare metal? Where anywhere? You have any preferences? I'll go ahead with that and install. Bare metal in the sense so it's not basically it's bare metal. Like I would say, I'll go with uh, what is it? The right time I don't get the right word. Sorry for that.
That's,
VirtualBox, Oracle VM VirtualBox.
the thing is they're almost all really good. We have Docker Desktop covered pretty well, I think, but some of the other ones we're just stumbling into understanding that there's a couple of hiccups with their install. Which one do you lean into? Or which one's most convenient for you?
I'm fine with any of that.
So if the VirtualBox or
I had a VirtualBox, but like I tested it and like that's fine. Like I can recreate the Kubernetes cluster in VirtualBox and I can start implementing it. Because like I didn't use it for 2 weeks, and so I have some other purpose to use the VirtualBox. So I started with Vagrant for some other stuff, and so it's like let me kill that Vagrant and I can like go with Kubernetes installation, the VirtualBox.
that'd be great, perfect. And then Sako, I think the same call to action for you. I think you're next week you're on a path to EKS, but already this week, were we successful in confirming that we're GKE compatible now?
So we can do the testing, but we need to manually install Istio and Linkerd. I managed to install, but not install through Meshery, the sample application, or Istio with and without Linkerd. Yeah.
And that's the token, G-Cloud token issue?
Yeah, I will update more stuff in the
okay.
For the GK.
Okay.
So.
Very good. Well, then, hey, so then one other, I'll just move through the last general item, and that is, I had a couple of conversations with Microsoft this week. One of them that is very exciting. It's a little bit sensitive, and they've asked that I not share the effort broadly, and so hesitant to discuss it on this call. But who am I kidding? Nobody's watching these anyway. No, there's a number of people who do come back to watch these. So anyway, they've got an initiative in flight that they've asked us to come participate in, and we're going to very much so happily do so. So as soon as I have those details to share with you guys, I will. I think it is a very exciting opportunity, and one that will give Meshery a little bit of a world stage. For some things potentially at KubeCon. So hopefully that's a good cliffhanger. The other Microsoft discussion that I've had is with a software engineer in Microsoft's commercial software engineering group who resides in Australia. He engages with customers who are trying to do service mesh deployments. And they have the same questions that Meshery is already solving, and so he was very excited to see Meshery and wants to meet up and understand the tool better. I think the 2 p.m. Central Time is a challenge for Australia, clearly. So if we end up getting a separate meeting going with him, I'll make sure that you guys have those details so that you can join as well if you'd like. I think there's a lot that's fantastic. It sounds like we might have a prominent user there. Moreover, I think if that goes well and Microsoft finds this useful, there's talk of using kind of the same talk that I had with each of the other service mesh projects about incorporating Meshery into their ongoing CI kind of integration tests, their release testing, to ensure that they're not regressing in terms of performance. Microsoft, while they don't produce their own service mesh, they are getting into service mesh in a big way and may end up leveraging Meshery as part of those mechanics. So lots of exciting stuff with respect to Microsoft. I'll share what I can when those details come. So, over to you, Garish, for an update.
Hey, the only thing which I have to include here is actually the network service mesh. So I was able to join their weekly meeting. I really felt very welcomed. They were very open in the approach, and Meshery was presented during their community call to all the people who were part of the NSM community, and we are going to be starting to work closely with them to actually get an NSM adapter built for Meshery. So that is everything which I just wanted to add here.
That's awesome. Prem and Ed and Frederick, those folks that there's a longer list too. Starmer and there were a few different folks that had all kind of jumped onto the Meshery channel at once a couple of weeks ago, right as NSM was being indoctrinated into the CNCF sandbox. Very nice folks. Seem very excited to create an adapter. I think that we should encourage and make clear to Prem and to that NSM group that if they can get their adapter done within the next 3 weeks before KubeCon EU,
then it would actually not update. It would rather just skip the updation. So the only way around that is the resource have to be deleted and then recreated. It's not a hard thing, but it's 2 extra mouse clicks. So I've tried to see if I can include that flow as part of the Meshery adapter code. I pretty much have that ready for Istio. I just need to run some more extra tests, and then once that is successful, then I'll also include that for Linkerd's adapter. The other one is several people, mainly Sako and Hain. They actually got back when they tried to use Meshery with GKE. They had some difficulties. I spent a little time trying to see if I can overcome that issue with little effort, but it doesn't look like so. That work still is in progress. So that is one other thing. Apart from that, Sako actually pointed out that he had issues with using Minikube's config with Meshery out of the box. With some custom changes, with some minor changes, it works. But so instead of asking users to make those changes, we were trying to see if we can include that as part of the adapter code.
Yeah. What are those changes for Minikube?
What happens is when Minikube is installed on the machine and when you export the config file, what it does is it actually does not include the certificates in the YAML, because those are external files. So that actually poses a problem because when Meshery, the way Meshery works is Meshery hands the kube config to the adapters, and the adapters are the ones working with the Kubernetes cluster.
Yeah.
So the client certificates get lost.
What
during this transfer.
Is there a specific Minikube command that exports the config minus the certificates, or?
No, the only thing is it'll just give you the config. That's how far it goes. But that config will actually contain contain a link to a certificate on the host mission of the user. So
when it exports, when it exports, do you mean it puts it overrides it does a file mapping that overrides your local your local config, or
No. I mean that part will be included. Since the merging happens well, but so the way the Kubernetes configs work are that they give you the option to either include the certificate as part of the config or to have a link to it.
Okay.
So
the
Minikube uses the second option.
Okay. When you so when you've got Minikube up and running, a lot of times you're able to choose. I guess. Are you able to choose different virtualization providers, or is it just VirtualBox by default?
No, you can actually choose different providers. That is when you're creating the virtual machine, you have to actually include some extra flags. Yeah. I think they have support for VMware, for example, on a Mac, they have support.
What's the command to export to get the kube config for the Kubernetes running in Minikube?
Oh, actually, what Minikube? Just give me 1 second. I think it already would have included it as part of your host.
Yeah.
Config file.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out is if there's so you just do a Minikube start, and then when it ends up automatically mapping.
Correct. Yes.
And the solution.
You can export using a kubectl config view with a raw option. Usually that'll spit out the exact thing. I mean, of course, a merged version, and you should be able to see the config files.
Okay.
This will be usually under the context mini queue.
Okay. And then what was the proposed fix for accessing?
Right. So I don't have an amazing fix, but a temporary fix is actually to kind of parse the kubeconfig file, include. So there is a flag where we can actually ask our Kubernetes client to ignore the certificate verification. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of doing that so when a kubeconfig file is given, I would inject that flag, inject that YAML property in the right place, so that when the Kubernetes client is really making the call, it'll work.
I get it. Sako, do you have any other suggestions there?
So definitely Minikube is widely used. It would be nicer and it's easy in compare with Spring Ubuntu because all the Mac and all the other operating system it supports. So I tried to replace the certificate with instead of the link, so that one didn't work out. So I guess we can just check other options. As I guess Krish already said, maybe for now we can do nice documenting if it's maybe sometime just the steps from user side. But
so we don't have any other programmatic solution. There's no Minikube export certs or what have you.
So I haven't digging into too much. I was mainly focused on GKE, but just think, maybe even in case you can do some shell script that can do it, that could be also one thing. Case as a step.
Yeah. How fragile do you think a script like that would be?
That's a good point.
I mean, would it be environment specific? I mean, it would be environment specific, right? Because that would need to be either Windows or.
Mainly for Mac and Ubuntu should be. I mean, Unix should be the same, but for Windows it's a little bit different. And
so right now it's just disable TLS. But what else, guys? There's got to be another approach. Other people have to have. Okay, think about it.
Let us take a bit of it.
Very good. Garish, did you want to, if you've got Meshery handy too, maybe you just, you know what? Actually, we've only got 20 minutes left, so never mind. Can I get anything else, Garish?
No, actually, I mean, for now, what I've done is, I've kind of injected that part as part of our program. So, I mean, users don't have to worry about it. They just give the config and it'll work. I'm just yet to push that out, because, I just wanted to give it some tests. The other topic, if you're okay, if everybody's okay with time, there is a question, which, during our testing, one of the things we came across was actually the kube proxy's performance. When, for example, when a service mesh is not used, services communicate with one another using kubeproxy. So, Pawan, if you have some thoughts or insights on, how you would, or how you have, to configure the kubeproxy, because I think you probably know that kubeproxy has several modes, and by default, it's actually using the IP tables mode. So, is there any recommendations you know of, which people on the call might benefit from?
Again, it's to be honest, while I'm installing, I'll go with the kubeadm only, so most probably kubeproxy is taking it by that. I don't have anything right now. Maybe I'll get back to you with more information. Yeah.
Awesome, Pawan. That's okay. Yeah, I mean, great. Yeah, thank you. Actually, you know what? One thing which I will probably reach out to you and maybe get your help with writing some docs is actually on, like, for example, as part of the Meshery docs, it'll also, I think, be nice to actually, like, give some basic instructions to users on how to set up a Kubernetes cluster, like, with Minikube, with have you heard of K3 OS? That was something me and Prateek tried this week. It did work to some extent. So maybe, maybe different ways, people can quickly set up a tiny Kubernetes cluster on their local would probably be helpful to actually include in the docs. So I'll see if I can reach out to you and get your thoughts there.
Yeah, sure, definitely at any time.